Welcome back on another edition of the Unbroken Athletic Podcast. We are breaking down the 5 pillars of fitness. In this episode, we are going to be talking about endurance as we are joined by our resident running coach, Coach Justin. So here it is with me, Coach Jeremy, Coach Shanna, and Coach Vince. All right, we are here, podcast number 3, right? Yeah, we're gonna drop the 00 from now on. So we're on the 5 pillars of fitness. First one was
lifestyle.
Dude, I totally forgot.
Lifestyle.
The second one was
Strength.
And this week we are joined by somebody new. One of our other coaches here at Unbroken Athletic. We have Justin Bale coming in and talking about endurance. If you've ever run with this guy, you kind of just want to break his knees.
Take a lot of shortcuts. A lot of shortcuts. Big cheater.
You have like rubber pants on that move your legs faster.
Yes.
No, yeah. So this is our local endurance dude. Does a lot with running. Like, what is your mile time?
Currently, I don't know. Low 5s. I'd like to think I could break 5 in a mile right now.
Dang.
But
it's like super fast.
He just says that so nonchalantly.
I'd like to break 5.
No, a lot. I've been getting older, so that foot speed kind of goes away
I hit like
bit.
7, and I'm like, yes, 7 minutes, and I didn't die.
I'm trying to think. I think I did 5:15 for the Murph, like coming in on Murph. Might have been a little hot.
That's fast.
Kind of tired after that, but
We got to put a weight vest on him.
I know next year.
Did you time the last mile?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was under 6, but not much under 6.
Wow.
High 5s.
Cruising.
For sure.
Jesus.
We should tell a story about when we tested our mile time with Justin on the track.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
bad. It was also like 95 degrees and like black
100%
track.
humidity on a track.
Hey guys, we're gonna do 400 meter repeats. Hope you like it.
See you guys at 2
He's
p.m.
like jogging next to us, and I'm like falling forward,
Sprinting.
drenched in sweat. And he's like a gazelle, just like bouncing.
No, he laughed.
Doing good. I'm just going to do a mile. I'll meet you back here by the time you finish your 400.
He lapped us in the 4 laps.
Yeah,
He lapped us on lap 3.
Another
Like,
mile
hey, you're
run.
doing great.
High fives. I was like, I hate you.
Still just a big cheater. I cut across the field. You guys just didn't see me at the halfway mark.
We're too busy looking at the ground going, man, I hate my life. I hate my life. I'm doing this for the sport of fitness. All right, so I guess we got to put a time on this. How long do you guys want to talk today?
20?
25?
25?
Let's go 25 today. We'll give it a little bit of an endurance.
Yeah.
I see
See what I did there? Okay,
We'll have to start off slower. Pace
All right.
yourself.
We just started as slow as
Start-
possible. We did like
Going down.
3 minutes of jabbing. Blah, 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 blah. All right, so 25 minutes on endurance. And so I guess what we'll do is we'll just open it up with you, Justin, kind of like what your background is.
Sure.
Easy way for people to get to know you and know what you do and how you got into it.
Yeah. So my name is Justin. I am from the area. I went to Brunswick, Kentucky. And I grew up playing soccer, similar to Vince. So one of the things about soccer is you do run a lot. And the more you goof off, the more you run.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. We became pretty good runners, a pretty good group of us.
So now it's all coming together.
Yeah,
Now I
it's
know
all
why you
coming
guys are
together.
such good runners.
God has a plan. No, so
Go do laps.
Pretty much.
I remember some of the drills, like the Cincinnati's we called them, like to the line and back, and running out to half field and back. Then there's another one where they called Chicago, where you'd run like part of it was all on the outside of the field, so you'd run like half the field as a sprint, and then you'd run around the whole field, and then you'd run the full field as a sprint. And
A.K.A. Chelsea Square.
it was anyway, you become a pretty good runner as a soccer player.
I guess.
Yeah, so there's so then we played soccer growing up, played travel premier, did all that stuff, and then got to high school, and I played 1 year in high school, and it kind of filtered out to where I realized maybe I was a better runner than I was a soccer player, which was kind of a bummer at some point. But going from running to being a punishment to being like what you do all the time was kind of a shock. But we ended up like our varsity team was I swear it was like 75% soccer players. So kind of robbed the soccer team a little bit, but we ended up winning state for Division I my senior year in high school. And I think we were ranked like 13th in the country, I think.
So what you're saying is your entire senior soccer team was a bunch of goof-offs? And
Yeah,
so your track
basically.
team was a bunch
Yes.
of goof-offs?
Oh, yeah. It was. You could probably ask our coaches. Yeah, it was.
You guys are the hardest to work with.
Yeah.
But you're fast.
We were
But you're
yeah, we were pretty good, I think. So yeah, I mean that kind of led me into. So I ran in college, and that's where I met my wife Dana. She ran as well at Geneva College. So kind of turned down the intensity a little bit at Geneva and focused a little bit more on school and engineering and that stuff, but still ran. And then picked it back up after college and really haven't stopped. So my transition into CrossFit was cool. So yeah, Dana got into CrossFit maybe a year and a half ago, and I think I came after the Memorial Day parade, and yeah, you guys started working out, and you're like, hey, you should probably jump in this.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I was like, well, I don't have any stuff on. And you're like, oh, that's all right. You can just go back and get it. I'm like, oh, okay, sounds good. So yeah, first workout.
That's a typical CrossFit style.
Yeah.
Like, hey, stranger on the street.
Why are you standing there?
Why are you standing around looking at us?
Get
Why
in
don't
here.
you join us?
So it's like, well, I can't really say
I
no.
really
I
don't know
guess.
how to snatch. It's all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I remember we did like toes to bar, and then like overhead walks with the bar outside in front.
Oh,
Yeah.
185 pounds. Well,
Yeah, I did. I think I did 225. No, no, I'm pretty sure I did.
yeah, he was one upping us all.
No, I'm pretty
And
sure I
then
did
he
that.
ran a mile.
Yeah, then I ran a mile as a cool down. No, I'm pretty sure I did that little bright plastic little kid weight bar that you guys have out there. Pretty sure that's what I started with.
From the parade, awesome.
But no, it's been interesting to see the transition. So as I started to work out more, I started to run a little bit less. I still ran, kind of looking at the Hinshaw methodology, I guess. Like they were capped at kind of like 15 to 20 miles a week. So I was trying to do that for a while. And it was interesting that, doing the CrossFit and especially some of those longer workouts, I think it helped when I went to run. Like I didn't really notice a drop off that much in the run. I mean, granted, I wasn't jumping in marathons or anything, but it's 5Ks or a mile here and there is fast. I didn't notice any drop off at all. So it's kind of interesting to see. Yeah, so that's kind of so from there, jumped in, coached a couple endurance classes here at the gym. It's worked out pretty well. So that's kind of where I am today. And I jump in local races here and there.
Cool.
Yeah, try to sneak into those.
And win them.
Again, still finding shortcuts everywhere. Cheating all the time.
You keep on giving away secrets.
I know.
People are going to be like, watch that Justin character.
I know.
He's a cheater.
That's kind of like my background in a nutshell.
Cool. So now we have
Yeah.
kind of an idea of what your background is, and we brought you in just because you are kind of the long endurance guys. So preparation back then compared to now, you kind of opened up a door for us to kind of look into seeing how you prepare now for races compared to when you were younger. Would you say that your overall take on endurance is a lot different now than what you thought it was prior, or do you think it's still the same?
I think it's still basically the same, but I think
Okay.
it's got it's more like a different benefit from endurance. So when we come to these workouts, I remember the first couple that we were doing like a 20-minute AMRAP or something, and you get out and you see people go nuts for the first 4 minutes and just die. So I guess I noticed the endurance benefit where I'm not obviously moving as much weight as some other people, but that I can go at a higher percentage consistently for a full 20 or 30 minutes or whatever it is. So I think seeing the endurance from a different benefit point of view.
Cool.
And training and kind of modifying my running a little bit to benefit or to optimize for CrossFit, if that makes sense.
Cool. All right. So any takeaways, guys? Like I suck at endurance, so I'm just going to say that right now. So this one's like, you're going to get very little talkage out of me. I'm
good.
just here for jokes, and we got a whole
We're at
21
6
minutes left.
minutes.
So
Good work.
So my take on endurance and what it's done for me, and then you guys can kind of chime in if you want. We do a lot of stuff, especially recently with Vince here. I mean, he's got an engine, and I think we kind of addressed that earlier this week when it's like you never had the teenage years of CrossFit. Like you started out as a child in CrossFit, okay, coming in, you liked the stuff, you were just learning how to walk, and then you almost went from that and you skipped all the stupid, like, you know, the stuff that you did in soccer that caused you to run all the time. You skipped all that stuff and you went straight to being to an adult, like in college. And I think what I'm getting at is you missed all that pacing and moderation and trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and then going back and trying to dial in your endurance and kind of figuring out what your lactic thresholds are and what they aren't. And so for me, that is, you know, the last couple of weeks has been pretty cool because it's like we get to train that stuff all over again, and you know both sides, but you just don't know the middle. And so knowing that and having a lot of stuff to play around with, I think is really cool as a coach, because I don't have to sit there and teach you how to do an Olympic weightlifting snatch, and then, you know, you're still learning that and developing your endurance and your capabilities in a workout or a Metcon. And so it's really cool because I can say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to try this, and you're like, oh, okay, I can do that. And we get to test that. And so that comes back, and that's really good data for us, especially knowing your endurance background and seeing how we can keep that, we can start to move that lactic threshold over time and trying to get you to improve kind of like your basics, you know, your benchmarks. Helen is a perfect one to test that aerobic capacity. And so from an endurance background, so you guys are both endurance, and I know when you do Helen, like your Helen's probably a heck of a lot different than mine, especially that last 400 meter run. How does that kind of like, so optimizing that kind of training for you guys, I guess I'm just trying to figure out, how does it feel for you guys on that last 400 run, having such a huge endurance background?
I guess it just depends. I mean, it depends on how hard you're pushing those first two rounds. If we're strictly speaking of Helen, I mean, that first run, I know we all kind of recorded each other's times per
I think we're just amazed at Justin.
Yeah, Justin was at 112 and
112 for a 400.
But we were, you know, I came in I think at 120, 122, something like that, and I somewhat wanted to pace that first one, but at the same time I knew running was my background, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna push it here. And so that last 400 still, I mean, it felt bad, but it was almost like, in my mind, I always equate it to soccer, and I always equate it to like the last 5 minutes of a soccer game, where it's like, you know, you're in the 85th minute to 90th minute and you just have to go. Like there's nothing left to do but just go. And so that's what I did. Unfortunately, caught up to me on the kettlebell swings and the pull-ups, but
such a good day for me.
But yeah, that last 400 meter run, just mentally, physically I felt okay. Mentally it was just like, just go. You have to go. So that was how that felt for me. I don't know, Justin?
Yeah, no, I think all I could think about is kettlebell swings. Even on the run, I'm like, oh man, I'm getting closer and closer to more kettlebell swings and stuff.
Yeah, see, mine was opposite. All I could think of was, I'm doing that last pull-up, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta run again. Oh.
And for those of you that don't know what Helen is, it's a benchmark workout, and it's a 3 rounds of a 400 meter run, 21 kettlebell swings, and 12 pull-ups.
12 pull-ups, yeah.
It's a burner, man. It's a really good test of kind of, I believe, at that aerobic test. Granted, it's only around the 10-minute mark, 9-minute mark. I mean, it can go longer for some people. But as far as like aerobic capacity, like that's really great. Comparative to something like Fran. So Fran's a really good anaerobic test. And then Helen, you have that aerobic test. And then, you know, just recently we also did Fight Gone Bad. And this is kind of where I realized that he was the CrossFit infant going into the CrossFit adult and skipping the teenage years.
Yeah.
We looked at his Fight Gone Bad score, and it was really good in the first set, and then completely dropped off. Like, it was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
It
I
was
think
rough,
for me, when I think about endurance, I do think about running and cycling and how long, doing a longer workout at a lower intensity. But also, there's lots of workouts that we do that are benchmarks that are, if anything in CrossFit is longer than like 10 minutes, it's an endurance workout, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so learning how to pace, and I think when we hired you, Justin, that was our biggest thing, is like, I run at one speed. Like, it's my sprint speed.
Yeah, it's your 150 meter speed.
Yeah.
Much.
Even when I'm dying,
Even when I'm dying,
it's
yeah.
my sprint speed.
Yeah.
So what you taught us how to do,
Dude, you're
was
walking.
how to,
I'm sprinting.
yeah. Yeah, and it was literally just one speed, and he was like, rest on the run. I was like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, lower your heart rate. I'm like, I don't even know what you're saying right now. But I think for us, like, learning how to pace that run, I knew how to pace workouts. I know how to pace Fight Gone Bad. I know how to pace Helen. I know how to pace, not all the times. I test it sometimes, and I push that threshold, and then I redline. I'm like, that was a bad idea. And then next time I go into it, I know that how far I can push it. But for running, I had no baseline. I was just like, I just run, like, that's it. Mm-hmm. And so you taught us how to pace that out. Like, this is what your 400 should feel like. This is what your 200 should feel like. This is what a mile should feel like. And that helped, I think, mentally when you see running in a workout, because it should kind of be like a rest, right? It should be like a place for you to catch your breath and find they call it like the athletic flow. You guys know what I'm talking about, when you bust through the wall and you're just like flowing.
Yeah, like your second wind or whatever.
Yeah. And that's what it should feel like. But for a lot of CrossFitters, for us anyway, we're our strengths are in weightlifting and strength. It was not natural or not a rest. It was like, would beat us up, and then we come back into the gym and be like, we can't lift up that. Mm-hmm. We can't lift up that barbell. So I think focusing on it, even though it's like just learning how to pace and spending time and working on it, has really helped us a lot.
Well, yeah, another thing is and I'll get back to the Fight Gone Bad story, but working those 400s and doing those mile times and actually having a standard set time helps me a lot, not only as an athlete but as a coach, because as an athlete, okay, I know what my 400 should be on a good day on a track. And so when you're running these workouts where they have a 400 and you're like, oh, I just ran that 400 in 145 and I'm usually running them in 138, I need to pick up the pace. Mm-hmm. Gotta drop a swear word right there. Took me forever not to, but that's the thing that it helped me with, was knowing that number. And even in total fatigue under, 98 degrees, we still got those numbers. Mm. And that's what's nice about, when we were running those 400s, or even having an endurance coach for that matter, is somebody that knows what your times were and tracking all that. That's what, and we're going to drop a little bit of a segue in there, this is the reason why you go to a gym that has coaches. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times people are thinking, well, endurance is just endurance and I can just run and I can run whenever I want. I can do it on my time. I have a watch. I have an app that coaches this, that does this. The problem is your phone doesn't watch your form. Your phone doesn't know where you can improve or accelerate or decelerate, or what areas of strength that you need to work on. And that's what's so nice about paying that extra for that coach that's going to sit there and watch what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Even if they might not say anything, but they're watching what you're doing and they're trying to come up with some form of way of critiquing and perfecting your form over time. Plus, the same thing is a coach holds you accountable. That's the biggest thing and the largest downfall, especially running, if you hate running. And I hate running. It's horrible. I always say to all my clients and everybody that I meet, I said, if I can't run, if somebody wants to catch or follow me or run after me, trying to catch me for more than 3 miles, you can have me after 3 miles. I will give you a run for your money for 3 miles. But after 3 miles, dude, I give up. You good. You proved yourself worthy. You can tackle me. All right? But no, that's the thing is like, that coach will hold you accountable on the days that you don't want to show up. So that's the best thing. And maybe it's not Unbroken Athletic, but whatever it is, find a good gym, find a good place that has good quality coaches that are willing to pour into you, even though it might not seem like they are. Because sometimes you're like, dude, I hate this coach. He's a total jerk. He's out to get me.
I think one of the things...
That's not always the case.
Yeah. And one of the things in the same, line of thought is that one of the things I think I noticed the most and where I think coaches help is people doubt themselves so much. And especially the running, a lot of people have that block, like, I hate running. I don't want to do this. I can't do this.
Yeah, where you at, Justin?
some people here. No, but I mean, what I see...
Yeah.
No, what I see
Putting
is
that
like,
in the
man,
universe.
you guys are way
love
better
running,
than
I
you
love
think you
running,
are.
I love
You know what I
running.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
you guys can do... And, when I see somebody run for a 400, and I'm like, that was... They're acting like
Train
it's
wreck?
90%, but
Oh.
I'm like, that's probably like 60%. Like, you got more... So I think
Sandbaggers, that's what we call them.
No, and I think that
I
goes
think
along
that was
too.
directed towards me, but I'm not.
No, it's everybody, man. I think
It's
everybody.
it's everybody. No. No, I think part of that goes with the pacing too. I think people get freaked out, and there's that uncomfort level.
Yeah.
Like once you hit that uncomfort level, to where it's like, no, you can stay there. Like it's not going to get any more uncomfortable. It's just going to stay that same uncomfortness for
Guess I
a
never
very
thought
long
about that.
period of time.
That's good.
I mean, that makes sense.
If you could put that on a shirt.
Oh.
It's going to hurt. Just keep going.
Keep going.
It's not going to hurt anymore.
It's not
The
going to get
faster
any
you
more.
go, it's not going to hurt anymore
Yeah.
if you go faster.
Yeah, if you go a little faster, you're just going to be
'cause
done
the 10
quicker.
I mean, I'll just.
I
be
don't
real.
know, man. When I try to go faster, I feel like my lungs are going to burst.
No,
They haven't yet, so
I think you can always. I like what Justin said. Like you can always do more than you think you can.
Yeah.
And so like when we were pacing, I'll just throw myself under the bus. Like I'm gonna run slow so that my pace is like slow, so I can hit it in the fourth one because I don't like to fail. So I'm like I'm just gonna like hold back a little bit, but at the same time, what if I would have just ran it 5 seconds faster and then I
you'd
would've
have to
surprised
go
myself.
5 seconds faster.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
but that's the mindset, and I think people do that, like in running, especially, like
Especially
gosh,
for
I can't just
time,
go.
like if you have to do repeats.
Yeah, for repeats, right? That's what I'm talking
But-
about, and you have to hit.
The worst is like 200-meter repeats.
Yeah.
I feel like.
But I feel like so this would be a question for you then, Justin. Like, what would you say to somebody who mentally feels like they are, or mentally wants to pace a workout? Because, like, for instance, for me, right, my strength numbers aren't as high as what I would like them to be, and if there's a 155 to 175 pound snatch in a workout for 3, let's say, and then there's a run. On that run, I'm going to mentally tell myself, hey, let's pace it, let's slow it down so that way I can come in and rip that bar off the ground, because if I try to burn out and run my fastest 400 here and come in and I'm breathing heavy and all that, my setup, my mindset, everything's for that snatch is going to be gone.
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody who's sitting there going like, well, yeah, I would like to run faster, but at the same time, I know my strengths and my weaknesses, and I need to
Yeah, you
pace that.
Yeah, no, that's the difference in CrossFit. So you don't want to rob from yourself coming forward. When the next thing that you're doing, like the workout that we did the other day was running and deadlifts. So
Really?
so it's a half-mile run and 21 deadlifts. So let's say like for me, I try to take it kind of easy on the run. But if you burn out too much on the run, like let's say even like a 10 or 20 second difference on a half mile, that's a pretty big pain difference, I think, at a certain speed. So, but what's 10 seconds when you're coming in for a deadlift? If I have to break up one more set from 5 to 3,
which could
that'll
lead to like 30, 45 seconds.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So it's like you kind of have to, that's where it's kind of more strategy, knowing yourself there. So that's different than what I was talking about for sure for the running. But I mean, it's a good point. But it's also like if that's a training thing for you and not like
Well, then
the competition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like you train, then push yourself on the training to the point where you can run fast and then come back in and then and do that snatch that you wanted to do.
Yeah, and that comes back to mindset training. Changing your mindset. Like you have to view that if you're not on the line and that you can only do that workout once and you only get one shot at it, that's a little bit different of a mentality that you have to go into. But there's so many things that we could talk about, especially on that mindset training when it comes to competing or training or practice. In those three phases, and I think Ben Bergeron talks heavily about that. Is like you guys have, us now. I mean, we've been doing this for almost 13 years, right? No, 10.
Like 30 years.
Like 40 years.
Yeah. I look good.
There's so much knowledge at this table. There's like 60 years of knowledge. No. But that's the thing is like, having that mindset of going in and knowing what you're training for. Like, is this a training day or is this practice? And we should always be in that practice mentality and never in the training mentality unless we're there to try and repeat something where, we're training a specific modality. And I think that's coming back of, so if we took what your question was and we took it out of the context of that heavy snatch or a heavy deadlift, and we rephrase that question, okay, Murph is a perfect example. So Murph is another thing. So what would you say with that? Like, I mean, Murph is a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have that mentality of like what you were saying, pushing that extra oomph, because you're not coming in here to do anything, overly complicated.
Right.
I mean, it's all body weight stuff. I mean, but the rep schemes and stuff like that. So mentally, how were you preparing yourself for kind of like that Murph first mile run, second mile run?
Yeah, for me, so it's like I kind of look at those, knowing my strengths and weaknesses is like I need to make up time in the mile just to give myself, a little bit of a head start on everybody. Now, I didn't use the vest, and it's obviously different because I think, Vince, you did like Unbroken, right? Where it's
show off
100 pull up straight, 200 push ups straight.
In the gym.
Yeah, 300 squats.
I think he just did that just because he's like, hey, I'm making an impression. Yeah, obviously, it worked.
Yeah.
So no
if you
shame.
want a job, that should be the interview process.
Yeah. Do a Murph strict with
Do
the
Murph
with
strict.
the vest. So obviously that one, I think I would have had to run even faster in the mile to give a bigger heads up. But yeah, I think. But I've been, I trained like the Murph, like I trained, for a while for that. Just like at home, like when I wasn't able to get up here, I would just do a run and then some pull-ups. This cycle, maybe a quarter of the cycle or half a cycle. But yeah, like the pushing myself wasn't. I wasn't at that point. I wasn't worried about pacing myself because it was kind of the training.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I got to the actual, Murph itself, I, try to really push the areas that I should.
Cool. All right. So we've about hit our 25-minute mark.
We did it.
Amazing.
Quick 25.
We just went off on some tangent.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to watch this whole thing to make sure. I know there was a lot of open-ended stories.
No, I think you got to finish the one from
yeah,
real
I do
quick.
have to finish the one from Fight Gone Bad.
Oh.
So the biggest thing with Fight Gone Bad, what we noticed in his numbers was that there was a huge drop-off. So you had a really hard pace first round.
Mm-hmm.
Second round was a drop-off. Third round was a drop-off. And then towards the beginning of the third round, the rep scheme started to increase, which to me let me know that he was pushing that lactic threshold so much that he went over and had to back off. And so when he started to back off, he started to recoup. So that endurance level started picking back up. And that's knowing when, and that's another thing, and that probably another whole hour-long, 30-minute freaking topic on just talking about hitting that lactic threshold and learning how to maintain so you can tap into that endurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what that whole mental thing about pushing it past the limit is the same thing true. It applies when it comes down to like something like Fight Gone Bad opposed to a run. I mean, because it's so cardio intensive, like, wall ball box jumps, doing that kind of thing, the row, the cow row, that cardio is there. And if you blast past it, going into that upper realm, like it's so hard to recoup from that.
Yeah, it is. You
But-
burn a lot of time too.
But and then you can't tap into what you've been training that whole time, which is what your endurance pace is.
Right.
And so learning how to do your endurance is one thing, but also learning how to be able to scale your workout performance to tap into that endurance pathway. That's going to prolong those long 35, 30-minute, 45-minute workouts. And that's really what I was going for.
All right.
And I went over.
Hey, it's okay.
Dang.
27.
So the moral of the story is we need to start doing trail runs. Is that
Yeah.
runs
Yeah.
up hills, big hills?
More track runs. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and shut this one down. So quick
Thank you,
quick
Justin. for
couple
coming in.
things.
Oh, yeah,
Justin,
thanks for
it's
having
been
me over
awesome.
here, guys.
Maybe we should have him come in and chit chat with us some more.
Why not?
He talks more than you, dude.
Hey, I'm the silent one.
You can do Murph Unbroken, but you can't chit chat. Chitty chitty chat chat. All right, so remember, share, like, comment if you can. Like us on iTunes and Stitcher, and we're on YouTube, and we have a lot of cool content coming out, and t-shirts. If you get your Unbroken Athletic t-shirts, hopefully we'll all wear them at one time so you guys can see how cool they are. Other than that, we will catch you guys next week. Peace.